Welcome to Powerful Women Rising, a podcast for female entrepreneurs ready to do business their way. Grab your coffee and join host Melissa Snow, business relationship strategist and founder of the Powerful Women Rising community, as she interviews industry experts and shares insights on strategy, marketing, mindset, and more. Here, you'll find the tools, strategies, and inspiration you need to feel empowered, take bold action in your business, and keep rising.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Powerful Women Rising podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Snow. I am a business relationship strategist. That's a title that I made up. It could actually be a real title that someone other than me uses, but I thought it sounded better than networking queen, which is what a lot of people were using. And I feel like when you hear the term networking queen, you think of this person who's like always out and about and schmoozing and at all the cocktail hours and the happy hours and the fundraisers and all the things. And that is so not me. Listen, I love networking in a certain style with a certain type of people in my way. But that is not what most networking is. And that is part of what I'm here to do, is to change the way that we are networking so that we are doing it more like humans and less like salesy weirdos. And one of the ways that we do that is by figuring out how to be our authentic selves. And I know that is a term that is thrown around a lot, and there's a lot of different definitions, and a lot of us take authenticity in a different way. And I am so thrilled to share today's interview with you. I actually did this interview several months ago, and I have just been like counting down the days until I get to share it because I am just enamored with this guest. And I think that her message is so important for all of us to hear. Today's guest is someone that I have admired for a long time, not just because she's wildly smart, successful, and absolutely brilliant at what she does, which, spoiler alert, she is, but because she shows up in this world unapologetically as herself. And that is so fucking rare. Lauren Varner is a powerhouse plaintiff's attorney. She is a fierce advocate for justice and one of the most magnetic women I've ever met because she refuses to fit into anyone else's mold. While the world tries to shove women into neat little boxes, you can be smart or you can be beautiful, but not both. You can be ambitious or likable, but not both. You can be successful and we'll take you seriously, but not if you're going to be sexy. Lauren decided to blow up the entire system. She is all of those things and more, and she is not toning herself down anytime soon to make anyone else more comfortable. Professionally, Lauren is a force of nature. She's been litigating personal injury cases since law school, tried her first solo case 6 months after getting her license, and argued at this Colorado Court of Appeals just 2 years into her career. Her work has secured 6- and 7-figure settlements for clients who've been through the unimaginable. She's been named a super lawyer rising star 5 years in a row, recognized as one of Denver's top attorneys by 5280 magazine, and honored as one of Law Week Colorado's top women in law. But beyond the titles and courtroom wins, she is the kind of woman who pushes boundaries just by existing out loud. She makes people uncomfortable in what I think is the best way, not because she's doing anything wrong, but because she refuses to play small. And in a world that rewards women for staying quiet and contained, that makes her revolutionary in my eyes. She's also just a really good human. She gives her time to mentor law students, she co-leads major legal committees, and somehow still finds time to meditate and rollerblade and hang out with her 4 mini dachshunds, Turkey, Pee-wee, Craig, and Wally. Listen, ladies, if you have ever felt like you are too much of something or not enough and that people won't take you seriously because of it, if you've ever been in rooms where you felt like you needed to tone yourself down, maybe you've been told that you are too pretty, too sexy, too funny, too silly to ever be taken seriously and to ever be successful. Maybe you struggle with people who have some things to say about you that are not all that nice behind your back, but you still want to hold your head high and know that you are being true to yourself and that you can succeed not in spite of it, but because of it. This interview is for you. Hello, Lauren. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Melissa. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited to talk to you. I've been trying to get you on the podcast for a long time.
Aw,
because I just love, we're going to talk about all of this, but I just love following. We've known each other for a while. I love following your journey and just seeing, one of the things that I talk about all the time on the podcast is authenticity and showing up as yourself. And we are so afraid to do that for many different reasons. And I just have loved watching you become like more and more of yourself and be yourself and not give a fuck. And it's like really working for you. And I love that. So before we keep talking, tell everybody a little bit about you, who you are, what you do.
Sure. My name is Lauren Varner, as you mentioned, and I'm a plaintiff's personal injury attorney. I handle wrongful death cases and injury cases, cases like auto accidents and injuries that occur on someone else's property. I'm from Denver, and I own a law firm with my husband, Eric Faddis. He also practices personal injury, wrongful death, and he does some criminal defense work as well.
Awesome. So for people who are listening who are like, wait, I thought this was a business podcast. Why do we have an attorney talking to us? And she's not talking about business law. The reason I wanted you to come on is to talk about that very subject, because you are basically in a pretty old male dominated field. And I wanted to start just by asking you about your experience. You've had more experience being a lawyer now. You're not a baby lawyer, but as time has gone on, how have you experienced pressure either from yourself or from other people to present yourself in a certain way or to be a certain person in order to be taken seriously in your field?
Yeah, I mean, authentic self-expression, I've learned as I've, been building the firm and just like growing into myself is something that I value. It's a very important value to me for many reasons. I just think that without being true to yourself, you're not really healthy, right? I realized early on when I entered the field of law, there was an expectation from, I would say men, but just from the culture more broadly, where there's an expectation that you present yourself in a certain way because whatever that box is and that definition, that's what's deemed professional. And I found with time that that definition is really aligned with like masculinity, right? Character traits that we would typically consider more masculine. And, I wanted to be taken seriously. I wanted to build my reputation as a lawyer within the community and when I'm engaging with opposing counsel. And so I imposed that pressure on myself. And I feel like it was also externally placed upon me. But because of both of those forces, I really internalized what I thought I was supposed to look like, how I was supposed to talk, how I was supposed to dress, what our branding and our marketing looked like. I internalized all of that. And like I said, it wasn't healthy. I mean, I just started to feel this growing tension around how uncomfortable that felt as authentic self-expression became a more important value to me. I became increasingly uncomfortable trying to fit into this mold that was not me. And like that little whisper just became louder and louder and louder. And I think at some point it became so loud, I decided more out of like rebellion than anything else that I was just gonna like be me. And it's been uncomfortable because the field of law is so traditional in a lot of ways. I mean, there are still certain judges who expect women to come to court in like, your skirt suit and pantyhose and anything else is, an affront to the court. But I finally decided I can't live this way, right? It's not true to who I am. It's not true to the life that I want to live. And over time, I became more and more comfortable with that because when, you're socialized over time through all of these different means and messages to like force yourself to fit into that mold, doing something else, that shit is uncomfortable. And I'm pretty sure you just know me and you hit the explicit button for me. So thank you. because yeah, that's part of my authentic self-expression, right? I have a tendency to have a potty mouth sometimes, and like I accept that that's part of who I am. But yeah, I'm really happy to say that I feel comfortable dressing how I want to dress. Um, presenting marketing and branding that isn't mainstream for lawyers, that's really reflective of who we are and our personal brand, and engaging with opposing counsel in a way that feels authentic to me, right? A lot of people like feel like they got to come in hard and assert themselves and they're a bully. And I've just found like when people think that you're an asshole, it makes things more difficult for you and your client. So
Absolutely.
that was a really long response.
It was a great response. I have like 1,000 follow-up questions now, though.
Ask away.
My first question is, have you had experiences, and I don't know if people ever actually say this to your face, but have you had experiences where people have said, like, you are not at all what I thought you were going to be?
I don't know. I mean, I still get a lot of criticism from people saying I shouldn't be this way, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. I know that some clients and defense counsel like watch us from afar or watch us from the sidelines on our social media and things like that. And I really don't know if I'm different from how they thought I would be, but I know that for a lot of them, I'm different from how they feel I should be.
Yeah.
And again, that really just motivates me to step more into who I am and that authentic self-expression that we're talking about. And I think part of that is like not allowing these external forces or anybody to tell me that I cannot or should not be who I am. Right? Because at the root of that is this implication that like who you are at your core is not good enough.
Right.
And I'm just not willing to subscribe to that anymore.
Do you ever feel like you have to try harder to prove yourself? Or did you feel like that in the beginning, at least when you were allowing yourself to be more of yourself? And I mean, I probably should have said this in the beginning, but for those who don't know you, you are a gorgeous woman. You are very into fashion. You are always showing up like, well, I shouldn't even say always showing up because I see you on social media in your sweats, like working that also, but just
Right.
always
Thank
showing up
you.
in like whatever you want to be showing up in. And you post pictures of yourself that are incredibly sexy. You post pictures of yourself that are sexy, even though you're in sweats on the couch with your dogs, right? So that's really what we're talking about when we're talking about like the things that you do that people feel like, oh, you should not be that way.
Right.
And so I'm just wondering, like, that was kind of where I was going with the question about people saying, like, are they surprised that you're smart? Or like, are they
Gotcha.
surprised that you know what you're doing?
I mean, I think so. I think so. And I have felt some pressure to really assert myself in those ways, right? Gain credibility with opposing counsel, clients, experts, the court, because I know that my self-expression is different. And I just think because of that, I have less room for error. And so part of the purpose behind our brand is promoting authentic self-expression because it challenges these ideologies, right? So, for example, showing showing attorneys using more casual and like informal language on a billboard challenges this notion that you have to be like a stuck-up, like pretentious asshole to be an attorney and to be taken seriously, right? Or featuring me and like a female empowerment message on a billboard that challenges this ideology that you have to be a man to be a bulldog successful attorney who's taken seriously. So, yeah, I mean, we're very intentional about the branding and how we can challenge social norms and social conditions to allow greater space and acceptance surrounding self-expression.
Yeah. And let's be honest, this is not just a woman thing also. Like I follow Eric. I see some of these outfits going on out in
Oh,
the
yeah.
world. Your husband is also all about authentic self-expression. So, I mean, we could be here all day going down the rabbit hole of the patriarchy and expectations on women and how
Right.
other women perceive you. And other women who are always looking to see you fail so they can be like, oh, see, I told you. But it's really true on both genders. It's true on every side, right? Everybody has expectations of how they think that you should
Right.
be. And I know that Eric, I'm sure, has had similar experiences with people who think he should be different than he is as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And the purpose that I was speaking to behind our branding, right? Just increasing space and safety surrounding self-expression. He's really embraced that too. And one of the things that I love about him so much is that, and this is one of the reasons I fell in love with him, is because he is like the opposite of toxic masculinity, right? Like he wants to be vulnerable and he has like a soft side to him. And he's not afraid to show that. I mean, for men to really embrace that, I think that's the truest expression of masculinity. And so, yeah, he's very intentional about showing that. He's intentional about speaking to issues that are often like stigmatized for men and for society at large, things like mental health for men. He's been involved in campaigns for topics like that because, yeah, again, it's all about being really intentional with our choices in order to challenge these ideologies and these narratives, because those things are the framework for how we engage with each other in society.
I think a lot of times what I see in business, and this manifests itself in a lot of different ways, is we are so afraid to turn somebody off, right? Like to go back to your point about swearing, like my mom used to listen to my podcast and she would be like, I just don't understand why you have to swear so much. Like maybe just don't do that. And I was like, Mom, here's the thing. Like, that's how I talk. So if someone is listening to the podcast and they're like, ew, I'm not listening to this because she said fuck, don't want to be involved with me. Like, they don't want to hire me as a coach. They don't want to
Yep.
be in my community. They're not going to like it. And that's okay. There's
Right.
someone out there who doesn't say fuck and they're going to love them and it's going to be great. But I think it's hard sometimes. We feel like we are going to miss out on opportunities or we're going to alienate people or there's not going to be enough clients that want to work with us that we have to like try to be palatable for everyone. And
Yep.
I think you have discovered, and Eric too, that by being more of yourselves, you are still attracting people, but you're attracting the right people. Like you're attracting the clients that you want to work with. At least I assume so.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and we've spoken about that in the legal community, because I mean, first things first, you can't please everyone. So why do we hold ourselves to that standard? Why even try, right? And when you tone yourself down, dim yourself down for the reason that you said, right, to make yourself more palatable, I think that you're interfering with your ability to build an authentic connection. Um, when we attend, our continuing legal education seminars all the time, you hear these really successful attorneys talking about engaging with jurors during trial. And they talk about, if you are not your authentic self, they're going to see right through you. They're going to think you're a phony. And and when you aren't yourself, it's just I think it's impossible to build an authentic relationship or connection with somebody, right? So I think there are multiple downsides to dimming yourself or altering yourself. And when you are yourself, you're exactly right. It calls in the right people. And one benefit of that, an additional benefit of that, is that it does away with this notion of competition, right? Like we can be so hard on ourselves, like, how do I beat the competition? And we're always comparing ourselves to other people. And, I mean, I experience that sometimes when I'm spending too much time scrolling on social media, and it's an uncomfortable feeling. But knowing that when you are you. And if that involves cussing, you're going to find the other cussers out there um, who see you and just honor and respect your right to your sovereignty, your personal sovereignty. And yeah, I mean, those are the people I want to work with.
I love that. So I know I think you make it look easy. I know it's not easy all the time to show up as your authentic self and confidently. And I also know that you are human and that
Yeah.
other humans be humanin. And I'm sure you've heard
One way
some
to put
things
it.
from people that weren't all that nice. And I'm just curious, like, how do you push past the haters and stay confident?
I love that question because to be completely honest and transparent, it's something that I'm still, I wouldn't say struggling with, but coming to terms with because it's hurtful. I mean, I can give you countless examples where, people I look up to in the field are offering negative feedback about this billboard or this photo or whatever. And like
That's
that,
such a
some of
nice
that
way
is,
to say it. Offering negative feedback. They're talking
yeah,
shit. It's
they're
fine.
shit talking. And some of that has even come from like female mentors that I've really loved and respected and trusted. And it's really hurtful. Um, but I've done a lot of work to try to recognize that the way, and maybe it sounds cliche, but I really truly believe this. The way that somebody responds is based on their framework, right? And that is not reflective of me. So there are certain people who have a framework based on their life experiences where they're going to look at something that I'm doing and they may say, "Oh, that's really courageous." Somebody else with a different framework based on their life experiences is going to say, "That's super disrespectful and slutty and whatever," right? And while I don't appreciate it, I have to honor that that's their experience. I still find it problematic because I think sometimes it's mean-spirited. It's not necessary, and it serves to reinforce those narratives that really disadvantage, for example, some of these women, right? When you talk disparagingly about another woman in your field, um, it's problematic, but you just have to see it for what it is, right? That's reflective of that person's experience, and they are entitled to their experience, as toxic as it may fucking be at times, right? Yeah, we're all entitled to our own experience.
Yeah. And remembering that it doesn't have to mean anything about you, it doesn't have to dictate your choices. I
Yeah.
mean, unfortunately, sometimes they are just as entitled to make their own choices as you are, and
Right.
they can do that. But yeah, I like what you're saying too about just that empathy piece and being able to put yourself in their shoes as best you can, and recognize like whatever is happening over there is really not about me. Whether it is that you're triggering something in them where they are feeling deep down like, gosh, I wish I had the balls to be that myself,
Yeah.
or who knows, it's coming from something that has nothing to do with you, and I think that's a really
Yeah.
important reminder.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, just the example that we were talking about, right? If I post a picture in like a sexy outfit, that is intentional because I'm not going to change my self-expression to conform to your arbitrary standard. And it's intentional because I want to open up space where you can be whatever profession or however you identify in this world, right? And wear whatever the fuck you want to wear. Um, but yeah, I mean, where I've had mentors comment on those types of photos in a disparaging way, I am able to have empathy for the fact that, you know, they're imposing that limitation on themselves. And how painful must that be? I mean, I know how painful that must be because I did it to myself when I was a baby lawyer. And I thought that no matter where I went, I had to wear a black suit. I couldn't show any cleavage. I had to have like a freaking turtleneck on, my hair pulled back in a tight bun, right? I've done that to myself. And when you're not in alignment with your truest self-expression, it is painful. So I can only imagine how that must feel for somebody to impose those kinds of restrictions on themselves. So yeah, let them have their experience. And I really hope that they can get to a place where they're able to overcome that and like just be free, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. It feels much better. It's a lot less work too.
So much, right? That shit's just exhausting.
It
It
is.
really, really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so last question. What
Okay.
message do you want to send to other women, whether they are in the field of law, they're in business, any other field, who feel pressure to downplay their femininity in order to be respected?
I want us all to be intentional about beginning to reframe the associations that we have with characteristics that are traditionally seen as or viewed as feminine, right? Because in our society, we have a tendency to assign strength and power and like legitimacy to all of these qualities and characteristics that are traditionally more masculine. And and that's just problematic for so many reasons, including that it imposes these unrealistic expectations on men. And so it's actually very harmful and damaging to them as well. But if we as women can see the way that we participate in that, or we co-sign on that in a way that really precludes us from being in our feminine expression, I think that's how we start to shift it, right? Like, I mean, let's just talk about being in flow and creativity, right? And like the spaciousness around that. There is something inherently beautiful and powerful about that. And that's more of like a feminine characteristic, right? And if we can stop looking down on that, I just think that we're all going to feel so much more empowered. If we can see the power in our femininity and the benefits that that can bring to the table, regardless of what type of work you're doing. I mean, let's just talk about being able to empathize with somebody, being able to connect with them, being able to offer them support. That's not something that is socialized into most men, right? That's not a characteristic that is typically fostered in them. I mean, like traditionally or, throughout history, it's something that has been taught more to women because we're the caregivers, we're the nurturers. But just starting to shift how we perceive those qualities, I think is going to be so empowering and seeing them as benefits to us instead of weaknesses. So
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, that's really good. I feel like I could keep going with you forever, but I'm going to wrap it up. If people want to connect with you more, if they want to be inspired by you, if they want to know more about what your firm does, what are the best ways for them to connect with you?
Yep. So you can reach out to us through our website, which is www.varnerfaddis.com. Our social media is Varner Faddis, and we're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, Threads, all the things. And yeah, my email is on my website as well. So anyone's welcome to give me a call or shoot me an email. I'd love to connect.
Awesome. I will put those links in the show notes so everyone can reach out to you. And thank you again for being you and for coming on this podcast and talking about some really important topics. I appreciate it.
Well, back at you. Thank you so much.
That's a wrap on this week's episode of Powerful Women Rising. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you love the podcast, make sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, write a review, or buy us a coffee. Your support helps more women like you step into their power and grow their businesses in a way that feels real and true to them. Want to keep the party going? Check out the show notes for details on our next virtual speed networking event, or join us in the Powerful Women Rising community. Until next time, remember that building a business your way is the best way.